Good morning, guys. The best laid plans. Well, you guys know about those, right? Didn't quite work out this morning, a little later than I thought, but I did send an email to everyone letting you know I was running just a little bit late. If you don't get the emails for these workshops, super easy. When we are done the live, be sure that you comment the word seed and I will get you on my list so you know the upcoming schedule. So if there is a change in the next workshop or if it's delayed because of life circumstances, I will be sure to send you out a quick message and let you know. Hi guys, thanks for joining. Patricia, Sandy, Michelle. What is that word? Bernie? Welcome guys, glad to see you. Janet, Roxanne. I have a couple things I want to go over today, and let's see. Let me just look at what I decided I was going to go over today because I'm already forgetting. My mind just went completely blank. It's been one of those mornings. We are talking about what seeds I bought. Oh yeah. Where did I put them? Oh, let me get my seeds. I have a blanket because it is so cold this morning. Okay. Taking my blanket with me. Need to load the stove when we are done the lives. But the wind is howling. The wind is howling so strongly that the stove just cannot keep up. Okay, I'm going to show you what seeds I bought. We're going to go over the difference between hybrid and heirloom seeds and which I use and why. And it's a trick question, by the way. How you can make money by selling extra seedlings. I'm going to break it down for you and answer some common questions I get about doing that. So that's what we're doing today. Next workshop, let's see, don't miss the next one. We are going to go over 2 totally free things that will up-level your garden that are super easy. I'm even going to show you one during our workshop. And we're going to talk about what you should plant indoors and start them as seeds and grow them as seedlings under lights or in bright sunny windows, and what you should wait and plant outdoors and how you decide and what you need to know about that. That's next workshop. Okay, now that we've done our summary, I don't have all my seeds here. I grabbed what was on the top. I should have brought my whole box to show you. I have a box this high, plastic box with a sealed lid that keeps the tomatoes, oh my word, guys, it's been a morning. I like that it keeps everything in it extra fresh. It is a sealed lid, not necessary. I just happen to have it and I went, oh, I like this. And I keep it in a dark, cool closet, my box of seeds. You know what? Should I go grab it? I'm not going to, because I might not find it quickly. But on top, I had what I just ordered recently. These are all from Territorial Seed. This is the company I was mentioning last workshop, and I didn't tell you their name because I wasn't sure how to give you the discount information that they offer me, but now I have it all together. So if you go to my website, soulyrested.com/seed, S-E-E-D, it's S-O-U-L-Y rested.com/seed. You can go check out this company. You can also sign up there for the future workshop schedule. And I will send you the details of what we talk about today with links and all of that if you sign up there. And there's a link to go check out Territorial Seed and save with the code SIMPLE. So go stock up on what you need. Really sit down and think about it, guys. It's a thing that for some reason I put off, but once I sit down and do it, I start to get really excited. I actually start to envision the garden. I start to lay out a plan for where I might plant things. I've learned that always changes before May gets here, but it's fun to start the plan. Anyway, so these are what I just ordered last week. I got some more basil. Basil is something that I plant every year. I plant many varieties, and I didn't have this variety. I ran out of my seeds this year. This is new to me, Sun Gold cherry tomatoes. I plant a lot of cherry tomatoes because I ferment them I should have brought a jar of my fermented tomatoes to show you. They're absolutely gorgeous. They ferment really well all through the winter. I actually have a jar of tomatoes I have kept for over 2 years fermented. They're still delicious. Fermenting is an amazing way to preserve food. And cherry tomatoes, I have found, preserve the best by fermenting. So this is a new variety though. We went to a local farmer, checked out his greenhouse last fall, and he could not stop talking about these tomatoes. And if, by the way, if you are going to get my email afterwards, I'll send you a link to this exact tomato seed, because he couldn't stop talking about it, because he said they are the sweetest, most delicious cherry tomatoes he grows. And he has people coming from long distances to come and buy these cherry tomatoes. So I'm excited to get those planted this year. I told you last workshop about my burgundy broccoli. It's amazing. Go back, check out that workshop, what I had to say about it. I will never plant another broccoli variety ever, I don't think. I was so impressed. I have Blue Lake pole beans and Blue Lake bush beans. I have a story to tell you about these. That's going to be for a future workshop, about Blue Lake, the fact that they are an old variety of bean, and a potential problem you can have with Blue Lake beans and how to avoid it. I think that'll be another workshop. Let me know if you're interested to know more about, actually, it's true of any green bean, but certain varieties tend to have this complication more than others. So if you want to know about growing green beans this year, leave a comment. Let me know if you'd like to see that in a future workshop. Also, drop your questions, either for today's workshop or that I can add to our list of future workshops. Say hi. Let me know, guys, how long have you been growing your own food? Are you a novice? Something you haven't tried yet? Something you've been doing your whole life? I would just love to know. And if you want to tell us where you're located, that makes a huge difference with your gardening plans, what gardening zone that you're in. All right, hybrid and heirloom. What's the difference? I'm trying to, will they tell you on your packet? I'm sure they do, but I don't see it on here. Hybrid tends to get a really bad rap, and I'm going to tell you why, and it's legitimate. There's a legit reason, couple legit reasons, but I will say that there is a place for hybrid seeds, and I do every year plant some hybrid seeds. I plant a lot more heirloom. I'll tell you why for that too. But hybrid are seeds that have, most likely, not always, this can happen naturally, but most likely, very likely, they have been humanly manipulated. They have been altered by a scientist in a lab / greenhouse. And that human intervention is done very purposefully. So there is a place for it, in my opinion. They breed plants that have certain qualities that are very important depending on what garden zone you're in and what you're trying to grow. It's very important sometimes to be able to have access to the option of these certain genetic traits that are only found in certain plants if they've been altered, if they've been hybridized. But genetics is a funny thing, and just because something has been very meticulously over the generations of the plant cultivated a certain way, doesn't mean there was any chemicals involved. It doesn't mean there was anything going on that was harmful to the plant. What it does mean is that the final plant that they then take the seeds from, that they sell to you, has been very carefully grown to have those certain characteristics, whether it's drought resistant or pest resistant or shade tolerant or whatever the case. Because so much was invested into the genetic makeup of the plant to get it to that point, that it has those traits, which are good traits, nothing wrong with those traits, you'll never find someone manipulating a plant to get a hybrid plant that's more nutritious. It just doesn't work that way. And the fact that the plant for many generations has been putting its energy into this certain trait means that in almost all situations, when you carefully analyze the nutritional makeup of the final plant, the hybrid is going to be less nutritious than a very similar plant in the heirloom category. Heirloom plants are simply ones that have not had human intervention. But here's where people get tripped up on that. People think they've never been altered. They've never been genetically mutated at all. They're totally the way they were from the beginning. That's actually not true. To be defined as an heirloom plant means that for 50 years we can document that this particular strand of plant has not been altered, has not had human intervention. But before the 50 years, we have no idea. Certainly our ancestors certainly were doing this. They were absolutely saving the tomato plant that produced the most tomatoes, or the tomato plant that did really, really well in the shaded area. And then they would label their seeds to plant these tomatoes in the shade next year. Or the tomato plant that gave them the very first tomatoes of the season because they really wanted those early tomatoes, and they would label their seeds. They'd save them and label them and say, this is the tomato plant that I want to plant to make sure I have an early crop. So it's been happening, since the dawn of time. So it's really kind of a misnomer to say an heirloom plant has never had any human intervention. I mean, I do it in my garden, I save the plants and the flowers that I want to see planted next year for whatever reason. So I hope that gives you a little bit of insight. In the end, I plant much more heirloom than I do hybrid. I plant very little hybrid. So definitely I have a heart for heirloom because I love the nutritional content, because I love the fact that they're old-fashioned varieties, and because I like to save the seeds. You cannot, I forgot to mention that with hybrid seeds, because they have been so altered, you cannot save the seeds. You will not have success next year with the seeds that you're trying to grow from a hybrid plant that you grew this year. So that's another reason a lot of people love heirloom over hybrid. But one last thing I want to clear up, that hybrid produce, something, if somebody brings you a Better Boy tomato that they grew from their hybrid Better Boy seeds, you have no worries to maybe you don't want to eat that tomato because it's been genetically modified. That's not the case. Hybrid is not the same as GMO. It's completely different. So I just want to make sure I disclaim that, make that known. Okay, selling seeds is next up on our agenda. I've done this for many years. Sorry, selling seedlings. I do not sell seeds. I get my seeds. Highly recommend Territorial Seed. I explained to you last workshop why essentially they test every seed variety before they sell it, and they have very high standards with their seed producers, and they have a very high germination rate, which is going to come into play with our next topic here. So I don't sell seeds. I buy my seeds or I save them. But I do sell my seedlings, my plants that I grow indoors in the end of winter into early spring. I sell a lot of them for profit. In the end, I find that it more than pays for all my expenses that year of gardening. I have 2 different gardens. I do buy a lot of seeds. I do buy plants. I do invest in my garden some, but I'm always able to gain more than I invest through the selling of my seedlings. So I see it as all that food that I've grown, bonus, is pretty much free, and sometimes I even see a little profit. I could easily, if I wanted to, I could see a few $1,000 profit every spring, in addition to paying for all my garden expenses. But I don't want to go that high of a level. I want to keep it to where I enjoy it. I do have numbers for you to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. The year that I wrote down numbers, this was a couple of years ago, I sold 59 seedling plants. I don't know how many I planted in my garden. It was probably well over 100 in my 2 gardens. But I sold 59. I kept track of my numbers. I had 10 paying customers who bought those 59 plants. And in the end, my profit was $401. So that's not bad, right? For doing something I was doing anyway. Okay, my notes. First thing I would recommend is to plant what you want, at least in the beginning. After, if this is something you enjoy and you have been doing it for a few years, You very well might get to the point that you have regular customers and they start asking you, well, could you grow blank for me? That's cool. That's great. Grow your business and expand it that way. But in the beginning, I wouldn't try unusual things. I would only plant what you personally want. And that way, if you do have excess, you're going to use it. The other benefit to that is it's something you know. And that comes in really handy in this business model, because I had people, I do every year, asking me, well, I want, a pea variety that's like this. They don't ask for peas because I plant peas in the garden. Why did I say peas? Tomato. Tomato's a big one. I want a cherry tomato that is about this size, that produces a whole lot on the plant. Well, I can tell them exactly which one produces the best for me. And I can tell them the different sizes of all the different ones that I grow. So they really like that they can come to me telling me exactly what they're looking for in their garden, and I can work through what their options are and what I have available. So that's another benefit of planting what you know. And I do find too that really makes people more eager to spend more too, because they know they're getting exactly what they want. If they go to a nursery and they're just reading the tag and they see, okay, this is the height of the plant, but I don't know if that's what, it's a lot nicer and easier to come and talk to the gardener who knows this plant and who can tell them exactly what they want. And they're happy to pay a higher price for that, in my opinion. I find that. Also, label everything. One year I thought I was being brilliant and I was going to color code things. It got so confusing. Just label it, guys. It makes it so much easier. And label it clearly and well, and never think, oh, I'll remember that, I labeled this one and everything else in the same variety of pot is this one. No, label them all. You will be thankful, especially when it comes time to repot. If you have to upsize the pot, things can get really confusing. Also, another thing about labeling, I tend to kind of scribble because, you're planting 150 seeds at one time. You don't really feel like being nice and neat and meticulous. And I also tend to abbreviate things, like the Sunrise Bumblebee tomato plant that I love. Instead of writing Sunrise Bumblebee, I'll write B, or I'll write S for sunrise and B for bee. And I know what that is. And that's fine. The first few years that I was selling to customers, that's okay. Like, I knew what it was. I had confidence, but they'd kind of look at it when they came to pick it up and be like, okay, you're sure this is, now what is it again? And I'd have to literally write it down for them because the SB on the container meant nothing to them. So if you take the time up front when you're planting your seeds to label them well and put the full name of the plant, in the end, you and your customers will appreciate it. And you won't get an email or a phone call afterwards when they get home saying, I forget what this one was again. So also, plant in containers. This sounds obvious, I know, but plant in containers that you don't want back. The first few years, I thought, well, it's okay that I have all these pots that are things I really don't want to give away, because I'm sure I'll be selling this to people I know, to friends from church. They'll bring me back my pots. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen. You will not get your pots back. So know that up front, because it kind of matters. If this is a pot that you spent $3.50 for, and you're selling the seedling for $5, that was not worth the cost of the dirt, the seed, and your time in any way, shape, or form if you made a profit of $1.50. Did I do my math right? Guys, are you saying, I'm actually just realizing I haven't looked to see if you've told me how long you've been gardening, where you're located. You guys are being quiet today. Well, I'm glad to see you all here. I'm glad you're joining. Hello, hello. I'm not even going to try to read all your names. Oh, wow. So good to see you guys. So don't expect the containers back, and don't let that eat into your profit. Save everything that you can. I do buy a lot of plants, a lot of herbs I will buy, and I'll save every single pot, and I'll use it then for my seedlings the next year. You also can go online and get a good price on the cheap, smaller containers. How to decide what to charge. The first thing I'd recommend is this is different for every area of the country is the thing, so I can't really tell you. I would charge $5.50 for your small seedlings that are blank. I can't really do that. It depends on where you live, and it also depends on your customer base. I would go to a good, high-quality nursery in your area and start looking around at what they're selling, what varieties they have that are similar to yours, or maybe not as good as yours. Maybe they're selling a lot of hybrid and most of yours are heirloom. But look at what they're charging and start there. Then also consider that you can have a price range for your sizes. It's just a fact that different seeds will grow at different rates depending on where they were under the lights, if you didn't water one quite as much or didn't have it quite as close to the light as the other ones. So you're gonna have different size seedlings when it's time to sell them, and label them accordingly. And the ones that are bigger, really thriving, really sturdy, put a higher price on those, especially if these are organic, grown close to home by a farmer that they can trust. A person is willing to spend a higher price for sure. Plus your plants are going to be sturdier than you see at the nursery because you're going to be taking much better care of them. So the person's going to have better luck with them surviving in their garden, and they're going to be most likely a larger, bolder plant that's going to thrive earlier for them. So they're willing to spend more. So the bigger ones, you might put a price tag of, depending on your area, maybe $15, maybe $22, depending on how big it is and what the price is in your area. And your smallest ones, even the ones that just are teeny tiny because you discover them underneath another seedling and they never really grew, put a price on those, make them $5. And what I did was when people would call me or text me to order the varieties they wanted, I would set aside the plants for them as they ordered them. And I would always start with the biggest, most beautiful ones, put them aside, and just put that price tag on it, that highest end price tag. Give them a total. And I always thought, if anybody ever says, oh, that's more than I wanted to spend, could we change that some? No problem. I could take that large plant, put it aside, give them a $5 plant of that variety, and they'll be happy and it'll be more the price point they wanted. But I'll tell you this, in all the years I've been doing this, that's never happened. Never. Every time somebody tells me I want, 5 tomatoes and 2 peppers, and they tell me the varieties, and I set aside the biggest and I tell them their price, never once did they say, oh, maybe I'll get less, or that's too much. They're always happy to pay for the bigger plants. So that's my theory. It's worked for me so far. What you need to get started, simple things like a Sharpie for labeling your pots when you plant them. When it comes time for the customers to take them home, you want a lot of strong boxes for them to take them home in. It's good to have some tape that you can actually put across the box and hold the plants in. I have a picture that shows you what I mean that I'll send to you afterwards as part of your resources. You can also shove disposable bags or any kind of disposable packaging material in those boxes around the plants. All these kind of things you can be saving up for a month or two ahead of time. And then the customer can take home their plants and they can be safe and secure for them. For your planting, you're going to need compost and potting soil. You're going to want disposable pots. Here's my secret, by the way. I should have told you this right up front. I think disposable solo cups are maybe the best investment I make for my seedlings. I put a hole in the bottom of each. We get a long drill bit and just drill it through the whole stack of cups. They're easy to label. They're a good size, and it's by far the most cost-effective way to plant my seedlings. What else is on my list? I guess that's everything. And the seeds. Nothing's more important. Back to that germination rate. I have bought seeds from many different seed companies, and they're all okay. I have 2 that really are top on my list. But because the germination rate is so high with territorial seeds, that is really important to me, not only with my short growing season, when I plant these green beans in the ground. If they don't come up, I'm going to have less produce in the end. That's just a fact because I don't have time to replant them. But with the seedlings I'm selling, same kind of idea. I mean, you don't know for a week or 2 if your seeds have germinated. When you realize, oh, this is a dud, it's not going to come up. At that point, there's no way that plant that I replant is going to be a mature $15, $20 plant to sell. It's going to be a $5 plant to sell. So I've lost $10 or $15 on that one seed that didn't germinate. So I highly recommend, whether you're going to sell seedlings or it's just for your own garden, check the germination rates of the company that you buy from. And I have found none better than Territorial Seed. So go to soulyrested.com/seed and check them out, or just comment the word seed. If you're watching this live, wait till it's over. If you're catching the replay, comment the word seed, and I will have my handy dandy robot send you all the information we've been talking about and the details on how to save and stock up from Territorial Seeds. I think that's everything on my list. And you guys are being quiet. I don't think I saw questions coming in. So good to see you. Hi, Faye. Hi, Nana Bear. I love that, Nana Bear. Hi, Colleen and Jacqueline, Jonathan, Briar Valley Ranch. So many of you. Okay, I don't see questions, but feel free to comment them after I publish this. Be sure to comment the word seed, and I will send you the schedule so you know our next workshop, the final one in this series. I'm eager to talk about what you plant indoors and what you hold off and wait to plant outdoors. And I'm eager to talk about those two things that are totally free. You won't spend a penny on these things, and they will improve your garden. So that's the next workshop. Comment the word seed, and I'll send you all the details. Thanks for joining me, guys.